Hi, everyone, and welcome to season 2 of Maple's Host a Pro, where we talk with top talents about everything from marketing to business and so much more. Today, I have AJ Wilcox. He's a LinkedIn ads pro who founded BetaLink.com, the LinkedIn ads agency, in 2014. He's managed over $150 million in spend on the platform. They're official LinkedIn partners. He hosts the LinkedIn Ads Show podcast and has managed 5 of the world's top 10 LinkedIn ads accounts. He's a ginger and triathlete. He lives in Utah with his beautiful wife and 5 adorable kids. And his company car is a wicked fast go-kart. Hi, AJ. How are you?
Hey, Nitzan, so grateful to be here. Thank you so much for thinking to reach out.
I'm still. I mean, you're you're such a fun character to talk to. Even just when you opened your camera, it was such a pleasure. So this is just by that, I'm very happy to have you on the show. We're gonna jump right in. We're gonna talk about LinkedIn, and we're gonna do it a little bit about LinkedIn Ads 101 because I think most people look at LinkedIn ads kind of like we used to look at Facebook ads, like 5 or 10 even years ago. And I know that there's a big difference, and I know it's not the same algo. So I'm wondering, where do we start from?
Yeah, from a LinkedIn ads perspective, I think there's a couple things you need to know about the platform. Number one is we have this incredible targeting. It's the only platform on the planet where at scale, you can target business professionals by who they are, what they've done, what skills they have, all of that. So this amazing targeting, but it comes at a price. We do pay a significant premium to advertise on LinkedIn if you're used to, let's say, Meta, and sometimes Google. Google can be very expensive depending on the keyword, but Meta, you might pay $4 or $5 per click, but on LinkedIn, the average cost per click is like $10 to $16. So it's significantly more expensive for an interaction. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have a better ROI in many cases than Meta, but it is a little bit scary to a new advertiser. Like, oh, every click costs 3 times more. Is this worth it?
That's very true. And how do you kind of bridge that? How do you convince someone that that's the right thing to do for them?
I think they naturally come to this understanding when, as a business to business company, you've been trying to generate leads from other platforms. You have Google where you're paying when people are showing intent. And uh, I think businesses get fat off of that. Like it's easy to get fat and lazy. Like, oh, as much as I want to spend here, I can bring in sales ready leads. But over time, you find that as you scale up, there's no way to convince more people to search for these keywords. And so you're stuck with whatever size of the market is doing that searching. So then they go to Meta, and with Meta doesn't know anything about you professionally. And so you might be getting all these leads from people, but your sales team has to throw out 95% of the leads because they're not qualified. And then you look at LinkedIn and go, well, shoot, because the targeting's so good, I can make sure I'm getting exactly the right people. I may only have to throw out 5% of my leads. And yeah, it costs more. So I see a lot of advertisers who have come from Google first, then Meta, and then now they're coming to LinkedIn. They've convinced themselves because that low cost per lead on Meta sure looks good. But when you're looking deeper into your funnel and you're calculating a cost per sales qualified lead, a cost per proposal, and even your ROI, you all of a sudden see like, oh, on Meta, even though it costs less per click, I'm actually paying significantly more for every closed deal. Maybe I should go to LinkedIn where I know the lead quality is going to be a lot higher.
Cool. So let's start with the basics. Let's say I'm a B2B business and I want to start advertising. Do I start with my company page? I mean, how does it work? Where do we start?
Yeah, so anyone can open up a free LinkedIn ads account. It used to cost $5, I think, to open an account. That's been done away with. So anyone can open up an account. You don't have to pay a cent until you start advertising. So I would recommend open an ads account and play around with it. Create some kind of blank audiences just to see like, oh, what happens if I target this job title? How big is the audience if I limit it to this industry and this company size? And then you can play a little bit. But like you mentioned, your LinkedIn ads account needs to be accompanied by a company page. So I would say most larger companies, they already have a LinkedIn page for their company, but smaller or newer companies may not already. So that's the first thing you want to do is go and create that. It doesn't need to be anything special. Like you have your logo and about us and fill out basic things like industry and company size. But that's all you need to get started.
Do you not need to invest in like content to have on that page? Does the ads account is completely different? Doesn't depend on the content that you have or
It
how well your
it
page
really
is
doesn't.
managed?
Yeah, it really doesn't depend that much on each other. Your company page, because it's so limited on LinkedIn what you can do with a company page, really, as long as you have your logo, your name, the basics filled out, and a couple paragraphs about what you do, then no one expects more. It's like the lights are on and it looks like someone's home. So I don't think you need too much more. You don't need to be even posting regularly. The one crossover though with your ads account, every time you show your ads, they're going to show the logo from your company page, and it's also going to show the number of followers on your company page. So if you only have 4 followers, you might have a case where someone would be interested in clicking on your ads, but then they have doubts like, ooh, is this even a real company? Is this a scam? And then they end up not interacting with your ads. So one of the best things I can think of to say is go use the invites that LinkedIn gives you on company pages. Invite your industry friends, customers, coworkers, invite everyone so that you have at least a decent number of followers so that it doesn't scare people away when they see your ads.
Great. Then what? What's next? What's the next step? What's your go-to strategy when we're starting?
Yeah, and this one's really difficult, and so I'm going to try to like make this as simple as my mind can make it. We know when we're going after the right people on LinkedIn, like the goal for most businesses is going to be get one of these audience members on a call with sales, get them on for a demo or a sales call of some kind. But we also know that cold audiences don't buy. They're not ready yet. If someone doesn't already know, like, and trust you, then they're not ready to hop on the phone with someone. So one of the biggest mistakes I see from advertisers who are just getting started, they go to this cold audience and they're immediately showing them ads like, our product does this, our service does this, this is why we're better, click here to schedule your demo. And then they wonder why there's a 0% conversion rate when they're paying money to LinkedIn, but no one's signing up for the demo. So the best thing I can think of, like you mentioned content on your company page, think about what are the assets, what's the information, what's the level of education that you could provide to these cold audiences to guide them, help them through this, getting to know, like, and trust you. And then at that point, we have retargeting on LinkedIn where we can say, if you've been to this page of our website before, or if you've interacted with our ads before, now we want to show you a different ad. I would suggest like have this cold stage where you're targeting cold audiences who don't know anything about you and you're helping educate them. And then you're retargeting those people for a warmer stage. And maybe you can ask them if they're ready for a demo, or maybe you need another stage in between. But this does, for a new advertiser, it does require that you have some like good, helpful, useful content to help them get to know, like, and trust you. There's no reason for them to pay attention to you unless you're providing some benefit to them.
Obviously. That's true to everything when you're trying to sell something.
Totally.
What made you so passionate about LinkedIn? I'm wondering.
Well, it's so funny. I didn't know about LinkedIn ads before 2011. I was a search engine optimization guy, and I would make changes with SEO and just to see results not improve for 4 to 6 months. And so I felt like it was this giant waiting game. And I never knew if what I was making or the changes I was making, what I was doing had any sort of impact. And so I got into Google ads, it was Google AdWords back then, because it was the same keyword targeting, but I got data. I got data immediately. I could tell you if it was an e-commerce shop, how much you spent today, how much you made, and what your ROI was. And I could tell you that at the end of every day. So I loved that. So I went to go work for a business-to-business company. It was a SaaS company before their IPO. and I was the first digital marketer. And so I went in, and on my very first day, my new boss, the CMO, said, go ahead and execute all the strategies that you're thinking with SEO and Google ads. But just so you know, we started a pilot with LinkedIn ads about 2 weeks ago. So see if you can take that over. And I didn't want to look stupid to my new boss. So I saluted and said, yes, ma'am, and walked out and jumped into the LinkedIn ads account. I didn't know what I was doing. I applied all of the same strategies that I was used to with Google ads to LinkedIn. And within about 2 weeks, I had the sales team coming to me saying, hey, AJ, whatever you're doing, keep it up. Like, we are fighting over your leads here. I jumped into our CRM system to figure out what leads are they talking about, where are they coming from, and every single one they mentioned was from LinkedIn ads, and it was the platform I knew the least about. So long story short, over the next 2.5 years, I grew that. I just kept expanding and growing. I grew it to become LinkedIn's largest spending account. And after 2.5 years of running the biggest account, I went, okay, there's got to be more companies out there than just this one who need help on LinkedIn. And that's why I started B2 Linked. Just very simple. An ad agency that LinkedIn ads is all we do.
That's great. Um, what are the challenges you're
I think, I mean, our clients is a little bit different because we already know all of those. We already know the learning curve. We know that there are 5 things in the beginning of every campaign when you go to create it that I would call pitfalls that LinkedIn is purposely trying to make you pay too much for traffic. So we already know that. We kind of take care of that for our clients. But for a new advertiser who's jumping in, this might be worth, I think, touching on. When you go to create your first campaign, there's a box that LinkedIn checks by default that says enable audience expansion. And what this does is you told LinkedIn who you want to target, and then they enable this checkbox by default that allows them to stick anyone else in that audience, related or not. And so one of the biggest complaints that I hear from people is we're using LinkedIn's targeting, but we're getting people who are filling out our forms who are nothing like what we're targeting. LinkedIn might be broken. No, you took the default option, and LinkedIn wasn't very good at that. So that's number one. Yeah, I agree. Number 2 is there's something else. It's a partner network like every other ad platform has. But again, LinkedIn enables this by default. It's called the LinkedIn Audience Network. And what it does is it shows ads it's supposed to show to your target audience when they're around the web on other partner sites, high quality sites, and using high quality like business related apps. The problem is that for some reason, it's not limited just to that targeting. And so we're seeing bots come through. We're seeing spam traffic. And the costs are so much lower there. Like I said, you might be paying $10 to $16 a click when you're advertising on LinkedIn in North America, especially. But if you are using this audience network, you might be getting your traffic for $1 per click. So you might be going, yes, put all of our budget here, until you realize that maybe 90% of your traffic is fake. And again, it's enabled by default. Someone who's just getting started, they're going to run into this pitfall and get 0 results, even though they spent all their budget. The third thing is kind of the third, fourth, and fifth is how you bid and pay for your traffic. It's how you budget. At the bottom of your campaign build, there's going to be the default option that LinkedIn chose for you is called maximum delivery. And what maximum delivery is, you pay basically as much as LinkedIn wants to charge you by the impression. So every time your ad is shown, you're paying something. And it's the most expensive way to pay for your LinkedIn traffic 90% of the time. So you might ask like, oh, well, what's the cheapest way to pay for your traffic 90% of the time? That's an option that's actually hidden. If you look at the third option, it says more options. When you click more options, there's only one line that appears, and it's manual cost per click bidding. With this, you can say, I'm only willing to pay this amount when someone clicks on my ad. I'm not going to pay anything just because it's shown. And if you go with that option, one other pitfall is LinkedIn will give you a suggested range. And they might say, other people in your category are paying $26 to $90 per click. You should be bidding somewhere in there. But if you have a pretty small budget, absolutely not. You don't need to be bidding anywhere near that. I start my bids at like $6 or $7 or $8 to begin with. And that is going to be the cheapest way to get access to your target audience, especially on a tight budget. If you follow all of those principles, your first campaign's not going to be an absolute bloodbath.
Hopefully. And let's talk a little bit about creatives and what appeals people on LinkedIn, because I think that's an issue as well, because people are saying, well, let's have the suit and tie kind of campaign, Shutterstock, images, and go to ChatGPT and, hey, write something for me to post on LinkedIn ads. No, so we need to get creative here. How do you crack that when it comes to LinkedIn ads? I mean, what speaks to the audience most?
I think you really nailed it here. It's marketing is all about standing out and being different. And if all you see as you scroll down your LinkedIn newsfeed is a bunch of people in suits and ties and a bunch of stock photography, when your ad looks different than that, you stand out and you're going to get an outsized amount of attention. And I think that's what we need to do. LinkedIn is a professional network, but it doesn't mean that you can't be funny. It doesn't mean you can't be playful or creative or even a little bit irreverent. So I think that's the first thing is like, yeah, sure, you can use ChatGPT to help with ad copy, but don't let it take away your personality. Don't let it fade you into the background to just become another one. Like, make sure your copy has personality. Make sure your visuals stand out. They're not blue, gray, and white like everything else you see on LinkedIn. Like, you want pops of color. You want reds, purples, greens, oranges. All of those help quite a bit. And then the other thing I'll mention is video. We have found LinkedIn video ads to be so effective for us. And video is very expensive to produce. So immediately companies are like, oh, I can't do video ads because I need to go hire a video crew and rent space and pay for a full production. You don't have to do that. We found videos where the founder is talking right to their phone, just being very like one-on-one and personal. These are so good at making an emotional connection to your audience. And you speed up that process of getting them to know, like, and trust you with 30-second videos that cost nothing to produce. Everyone can pull out their Android or iPhone and record right just like that.
You can even pull out your TikToks and just use them as your ads if you need.
You totally can.
Will that work on LinkedIn? Because I think there's so there's kind of like a facade on LinkedIn that it's a business place. It's a place to grow your network, to be professional. Again, the gray, blue, white kind of look and feel. And then we're saying, okay, you have the opportunity to stand out, really stand out. So in this place where everything's a sleeping pill, let's call it the way it is, be the happy pill. I mean, is that working? Does it make I think some people will say, wait, but it's not the right platform, because we know what we should put on TikTok, we know what we should put on Instagram. It's very obvious. And LinkedIn is still kind of like the gray uncle that we're not sure how to communicate with, even though millennials like myself, we love it because it reminds us of Facebook of 2010 or 2011, where we used to post our thoughts, and we actually used it as a social network. Now that's what LinkedIn is for us. I'm wondering if that's the feeling around the business world, and it's not just as a personal user.
I think that's the fear. When we talk to clients and we suggest something like, hey, let's use a little bit of comedy in this ad. Let's be a little bit funny. Let's be a little bit maybe sarcastic. We a lot of times we'll get pushback from companies who are like, no, we need to preserve our brand image. We need to follow our brand style and guidelines. And I totally understand, like, brands, you have a style and guidelines for a reason. But you also realize that your chance to get someone's attention is, I mean, we're talking about milliseconds here. And the exposure that they have to your ad before deciding to click is maybe seconds at most. So I would ask, would you rather have something that's a little bit different from your style guidelines for someone's first interaction, but allowed you to pay a third as much and get 3 times as many people who are interested? Or would you rather pay 3 times more and the audience that you have access to doesn't care about you? You didn't stand out. And so personally, I feel like your initial ads, you can be creative. You can kind of break style guidelines in order to get their attention. Once you have their attention, yes, all of your ads can look very similar. They can follow your brand style guidelines. But I think if you want good performance, you should be willing to cross some of those bounds so that you can stand out.
What are the measurement tools on LinkedIn ads? Is it the same like we know it like everywhere else, or is it different? Do we
Yeah, I
need
mean,
to look at
we
it
do.
different?
Yeah, we do get the targeting that is like on Meta, you're used to targeting people by who they are personally. On LinkedIn, we're targeting people by who they are professionally. That's the only real difference. The ads look about the same. A lot of the features are the same. When you're getting measurement, you're going to see those same statistics. You're going to see like how much you spent, the number of times people saw those ads, how many people clicked on them. If you have conversion tracking set up or you're using the built-in lead forms, you'll see stats like your cost per lead and your conversion rate. And you'll see, of course, cost per click. So all the metrics are going to look really similar. And I don't think it's fundamentally all that different.
Okay, cool. Do you see any trends on LinkedIn ads that are happening? Like, because it's still a social network, as I mentioned, professional but social. It's about human beings and what they bring to the table as professionals, maybe. But are there trends?
Yeah, I would say about 5 years ago, and maybe even before that, one of the biggest things that I would see business to business companies do, and it worked, was they would show cold audiences like a free guide or a free ebook or a free webinar, and they would fill out a form. They'd give them their email address in order to get that free content, and then sales would then follow up and try to get an appointment going with them. And so you could pay a very little amount to get someone interested in your content, and then sales turns that into a sales qualified lead. We don't see that working anymore. I think our user behavior has changed on the platform. There's so much content out there. I think so many of us are tired of getting hit up by thirsty sales reps when we didn't ask for things, that we don't see that change. We've seen that change. We don't see that work anymore. So instead, what we suggest is so much more ungated content. Like give people things for free, give them as much as you possibly can, and don't ask for anything of them until you've already built up that rapport. I think that's probably the biggest trend that we've seen, is like B2B strategy has had to change because this one tactic doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about tactics. Let's because again, this is just, this is a marketer's talk. Let's be honest. This is nothing different than me talking to a social media manager or an SEO expert. It's a different platform, different structure, maybe. But at the end, we're all trying to do the same thing. We have the same goal. We want to get leads by exposing our product or our company to new people. But however, for different platforms, we have different tactics. So can you share like 1 or 2 tactics that you're using from your experience that you feel like are very effective?
Yeah, I think first is targeting. We want to utilize LinkedIn's targeting to help us get in front of exactly the right people without any waste. And when you look at LinkedIn's targeting and you see that there's 26 or 27 different targeting options, you might be overwhelmed. So I'll break it down in terms of 2 kinds of targeting that every one of your campaigns should have and what your main choices are. So I break an audience member up into 2 different camps. There's who this person is professionally, and then what kind of company that they're at. The reason I do this is if you told me, oh, our customer is CFOs, but your product costs $4,000 a month on average, I would argue your customer is not every CFO. It's not going to be CFOs at a 2-person company for sure, because a 2-person company likely doesn't have the budget to be able to afford that. So these are your 2 camps. So when you're trying to target someone by who they are professionally, you have 4 options that I love. Number 1 is job title, but everyone goes to job title first. So it's the most expensive way to target. So, but you have that option. The second is what department they're in, which is called, in LinkedIn's terms, job function, with a level of seniority. So if you're trying to reach, let's say, CIOs and CTOs, you could say job function is IT and seniority is C-level, or what LinkedIn calls CXO. So you can reach that person by their job title or job function and seniority. You also have an option of targeting like very specific IT related skills. And again, layering on a C-level of seniority. That's going to get you that same CIO, CTO, but a wider audience because skills are broader. And then finally, we have groups on LinkedIn. If you're targeting just groups for CIOs and CTOs, you don't need anything else. Like, the group has done the filtering for you. And you could say, if you're a member of one of these groups, yeah, we're interested in you. Or you could target IT related groups and layer on seniority. So what I've just laid out are 4 separate targeting options. You could always try all 4 of them, have 4 separate campaigns that have slightly different targeting to the same person, run them for a little bit and see which one gets better performance. And you can say, ooh, our job function and seniority performs great. Like, let's just do that from now on. So now we have who the person is. Let's transition to what kind of organization they represent. There are 3 options here that I absolutely love. The first is industry. If you know that you only serve a specific industry, great, you're taken care of. LinkedIn has a whole bunch of different industries that they've now borrowed from Microsoft since Microsoft purchased them. The next one that I use all the time is company size. You can say, if you are a small company, I want to show ads to you between, let's say, 2 and 20 employees, or sorry, like 2 and 50, or maybe I just want enterprise. I'm going for 1,000 or more employees. You can totally do that. And then the third option here that I love is we can target by company name. Literally, you type in the company that you want to reach and get in front of. And this is amazing for sales teams who are doing this account-based marketing approach, where they say, hey, here are the 500 companies that we would die to get in front of. They would be the perfect customer. Cool. You can create a campaign that's targeting just them. And when you overlay who someone is professionally with they're at the right size of company who is large enough to have a budget for us, and they're in the right industry that feels the pain that we solve, that's like the perfect targeting right there.
I'm okay. We have the tactics, we have the trends. We're talking everything LinkedIn. I wanna talk a little bit about personal branding on LinkedIn. First of all, because you do that as well. I started doing that, but you do that. But it's not only that; it's also about the understanding of a company when they have employees that they can utilize to have them as thought leaders and have them maybe represent the company. So when the other side, where the prospect client hits the ad and they're kind of looking for some information about your company, they have some people talking about you from an expertise kind of approach. Do you think it's helpful, or is it just on my mind? I'm just trying to kind of wiggle things on and how
No,
it's going to work.
I think you totally hit it on the head here. One of the biggest weaknesses to LinkedIn ads is, in the past, everything was based on your company page. And when you see a post from a company pop up in your newsfeed, naturally you're going to be what I've calculated to be is about 1/10 as likely to interact with that post. And so, but you have advertisers who that's their only vehicle to get a message out is coming from their company page, which no one wants to interact with because it's a faceless organization. We as humans, we love to do business with people. We make emotional connections with people. So what LinkedIn actually released late last year is a new option called thought leader ads. And this is something that Facebook's had for a long time, but LinkedIn just barely now has it, where we can take someone's personal post and we can put ad dollars behind it to boost it. And so as we're talking about personal branding, this is amazing. You might have your organization's CEO who's posting great things, great thought leadership, invitations to engage deeper with the company, and you couldn't do anything with it. Well, now you can. You can put that exact post right in front of your ideal target audience. And so it shifts now the importance of like, oh, you used to just have to make sure your company page looked good for advertising. But now you're going, hey, if we're going to be boosting some of these posts, like Mr. or Mrs. CEO, can we tune up your LinkedIn profile? Can we get you speaking more regularly? Can we get you looking very professional? So when we boost one of these posts, someone comes and looks at you, like you look like you're the real deal. You look like the expert in your space. And yeah, the personal side of LinkedIn, the organic side is so exciting. We don't offer it as a service, but boy, I've been a student of it and an enthusiast for years and years. And so anywhere you want to go, like we can delve into that stuff too, but it's an exciting realm.
That's cool. All right. Anything else you want to share before we finish the interview?
One big opportunity I see with LinkedIn ads that many companies don't understand is there is this ability to, when you create your targeting audiences, to create them like little focus groups. Of course, if you show ads to your ideal target audience, you're going to get impressions and clicks and ideally leads and customers out of it. But you're also being able to define who these people are very tightly by their level of seniority, by their company size, by their industry, by their job title even. And so because you can create these separate pockets of like narrowly defined audience, you have this opportunity to measure them differently. And I know this sounds very ethereal, but I'll get the rubber to hit the road here right now. So I'm imagining if my ideal target audience were marketing decision makers, for instance, it'd be really easy for me to go and create a campaign that's like marketing job function with all the seniorities of manager and above. Boom, I'm done. I've won campaign. But what you're missing by doing that, you miss out on the fact that CMOs are going to interact with your content very differently than a marketing manager. And you're putting the same ads to both of them, and then you get this averaged interaction rate out of it. And so you go, oh, maybe this content doesn't resonate with them. Maybe they don't like this. But if you could separate it out, you might see, wow, CMOs love it and the managers hate it and the VPs think it's okay. So what I think is a big opportunity is what I call micro segmentation, building out micro segments where you're separating your audience by something so that you can learn more about them. This is like customer research or prospect research, market research. And you can give all of these audiences the same ads, but now you're measuring what do different segments of my audience like and what do they not like? What can I do more of in the future to get better attention, or what should I be doing less of?
I want to clap. That was great. Great insight. Really, I loved it. AJ, thank you so much for your insights and wisdom on LinkedIn ads.
Oh, you're so welcome. Have me back anytime for a round two if you want to go deeper.